Welcome. Welcome to Tiffany Davis Speaks podcast, the spiritual pod for everyone. The gracefully broken, the shattered spirit, the faith walker, and the peacemaker. I'm Tiffany Davis, and I'm creating this community for us all. Join me each week as I release what it means to heal the gracefully broken, the shattered spirit, to become the faith walker and the peace creator. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining this week listening. What's new? Sacrifice. How will you sacrifice? What does sacrifice truly mean? How will you trust God? This week, we're in the second week of the new year. Have you made any changes? If so, did you stick to them? Did you stick to them after the 12 days? When you trust God and His power, your prayer has enough authority in this realm to get all of creation to move on your behalf. I heard this week and it resonated in my spirit. And the reason why is because I truly trust who He is. I truly trust who God is and what His power is. When we pray, do we truly believe that He will take care of what we're asking Him? Or do we just pray to be praying and to say we're praying? But how much time do you invest in your prayer life? Do you invest enough to know that God will actually move on your behalf? Or do you have a 5-minute or second-minute prayer and you just think at that moment that He's going to answer your prayer because that one time you decided that you would pray? Or do you pray enough for Him to answer that one prayer and add Him back on the shelf and don't go touch Him again or communicate with Him again until it's convenient for you? Where are you in your prayer life? Where do you want to be in your prayer life? Again, do you believe what you're actually praying for? Do you believe truly that He has enough power to move on your behalf? I know for a fact, with all the experiences that I've had and all the experiences that I have been involved in, that He has enough power to move on my behalf. One, I've submitted to Him. I've truly given my life to Christ. I not only talk this, but I walk it in the realm of holding on to His unchanging hand and His word to know that there is a path with this, that there's a process in this walk. If I am praying each and every day, and I am worshiping each and every day, and I'm praising each and every day, I can't go wrong. I can't go wrong even when something comes up against me. I can't go wrong when I don't get what I thought I should have at that moment. Because what I know is from my experiences and my relationship with Him is that when I do pray, when I do communicate with Him, when I do spend time in the Word, He knows my voice. So it's not like I'm going to pray today and stop praying for the next 60 days. I will continue to pray each and every day. I will continue to communicate with my Father each and every day. Because what I know is that when I spend time with the Master and I focus on what the Master has for me, the Master cannot lead me in the wrong direction. So when I pray, I know at that moment that He will give me a yes. And even if He doesn't give me His yes and He gives me His no, I know that everything will be okay. Right now, we're in a war. We've been in a war for the last 3 years. We thought we were coming out, but we actually were in the midst of the storm. It was like one of those rainy days where the rain starts early in the morning and then it tampers up in the evening and then it storms really hard at the night and your house is shaking and you just can't sleep because the wind is so brazen coming across the windows that you wake up and you wonder what's happening outside. That's where we are now. We're wondering what's happening outside, but you don't have to wonder if you pray. You don't have to worry if you pray. You don't have to wonder what's next when you spend time with the Master and you spend time in His Word. He tells us in His Word that His grace is sufficient enough for us. What does that truly mean? It truly means that no matter what, He's going to have us. He's given us that grace one more time that He didn't have to give us. That's that gift. Grace is a gift that He does not have to give us. Not only that, we don't even deserve the grace that He gives us. So when we get that grace and when He wakes us up the next morning after a hard day from the day before, we have to rejoice in knowing that His word is truly true right at that point. Even if we're on our bed of affliction and we're sick and the doctors give us a report, we have to trust in what his word is. He tells us that we will be healed by his stripes. What does that mean? I know for a fact that when the doctor gives someone a report, the first thing I do is run to my Father, because I know that he's a great physician. And I know that no matter what, when I give it to him and I truly trust him, I know that when I go and visit a hospital or I go and visit the sick and shut in, I know that when I'm praying over him, he has given me the power to distribute to someone else to know that if he did it for me, he's also going to do it for you, because you're his child also. There's no difference. I trust that when I pray and then when I spend time with the master and studying his word, that he's not going to let me down. His hand is unchanging. I don't speak anything into existence that I know that I'm not going to get. I know that I'm not going to allow my head and my heart to be elsewhere when I know that it needs to be with God so that he can take care of me. See, I focus on the life that I'm in now because the life that I lived before was a raging war of hell against myself. As I mentioned many times before, I asked God to save me from myself. I didn't truly know what that meant when I asked him, but I know that I was in a raging war with myself. I know that my back was up against the wall and how I was living was not right. So at some point I had to do what was working, and that was surrender and submit to God. I had to go to God in prayer and ask him to save me from myself. Oftentimes, that's just what we need. We need to be saved from ourselves. We need to be lifted away from ourselves. We need to know that we need to take up that cross and decide that we're going to follow him and not ourselves and not the social media platforms and not the crowd. When you disconnect yourself from the crowd and you disconnect yourself from the world and the carnal things, you know that your Father will save you. You'll be out of that hell. You'll be out of that raging war. And it feels so good to be out of it. But most importantly, it feels so good for me to just be in prayer and in communication with him. As I said, he knows my voice. But the reason why he knows my voice is because I'm in steady, constant communication with him. I am constantly communicating with my Father. I'm constantly on my knees, trusting in him and what his power is and what his word is and how he would change my life. I ask him to allow me to speak from my heart. But when I speak from my heart, that it's his heart, not Tiffany's heart, that it's his heart that I'm speaking from, that others may see and hear his word, not Tiffany's word. Because let's be clear, this isn't about Tiffany. This isn't about Tiffany Davis. This isn't about Tiffany Davis Speaks, but it's about my Father. It's about what he will do, what his word is saying, what his heart is saying, what his tongue is saying. It's true. I know who he is. Real-time experience. I see time and time again. I can't help but to help others understand how important it is to pray, how important it is to spend time with the master, how important it is to journal and write your thoughts down. I started communicating with God about 7 years ago in stickies. And what I would do is each day that he gives me that grace, I wake up in the morning time and the first thing I do is go in my prayer closet and I get on my knees and I date the top of the sticky and I write a prayer on the sticky, and I trust that when I'm writing that prayer on that sticky that he's going to answer that prayer. I don't know when he's going to answer it. I don't know how he's going to answer it, but I had faith that I know that when I went to him and I wrote it on a sticky, that I had confidence in him and his power that he would answer it. And the other day I happened on New Year's Eve. I went in my prayer closet and I said, okay, on New Year's Day, I'm going to put all the prayers that I wrote on the stickies in my box in a new box, as I do every year. And as I was going through those stickies, I thought to myself, wow, this is amazing. 365 days, 365 days, stickies. That is 365 stickies. And each and every one, I promise you, God answered in his way, in his time. And it allowed me to respect who he is and know that his power is so strong that he answered it, that he cleared the path for me. But not only in the stickies, in the process of journaling, I had the opportunity to commune with him. I had the opportunity to communicate with him. I had the opportunity to get closer to him and build my relationship with him. I didn't imagine 7 years ago starting the sticky process And a movie came out, The War Room, starting the process where I would write my thoughts down and commune with God on a sticky, and he would be so powerful that he would change and move in the way that he moved. Come on, God. But he's moved. He's not only moved in my life, but he's moved in others' life. I've seen his unchanging hand touch the unsaved, touch the backslider, touch the sinful. I know who he is. And I strongly suggest that you get closer to him, communicating with him so that he also knows your voice. I'm not saying at this moment that he does not know your voice. But what I am saying at this moment is the more that you get closer to him, the more that you study his word, the more that you spend time in prayer and meditation and in his word, it is a life-changing experience. You won't want to go back to who you was because he will give you everything your heart desires, but in a godly way, in a way that you can touch others, where you too will be powerful. You have to know it. We have to be so careful of our tongue, so careful of our mind and our thoughts each day that he gives us another opportunity. When he gives you that opportunity, you have a choice to wake up with a positive mind, or you have a choice to wake up with a negative mind. Never will you hear Tiffany Davis or Tiffany Davis speaks negative. I can't. He won't allow me, because the love that he has for me and what he's shown me and the experiences that he's shown me over and over and the real-time changes that he's shown me over and over, he's given me the thought of him, the power to speak of him, to know that his word is changing, to know that he can change your life. It doesn't matter if you're a backslider. It doesn't matter if you're a sinner. He accepts everybody right where you are. And we as humans, we always want to judge somebody. We always want to pick and choose who we like and who we love. We can't do that. We cannot do that. When we want to be God, like, we have to love everybody. We have to be kind to everybody. We have to forgive everybody. We have to have that heart like God, the thought like God, speak kind words. We are in a raging war. Everyone is going through something, but with God, it can be done. It can be taken care of. He can change the feeling. He can change the thought. I wake up every morning that he gives me that grace and another chance to know that I can be on the battlefield for him, that I can go to work for him. I don't have to go to work for the corporation. I don't have to go to work for Tiffany Davis Speaks, because when I go to work for him, he will supply all my needs according to his riches and glory. But the good news is he can do it for you also. This just isn't about Tiffany. This is about you also. Passing it on, passing the baton to somebody else. It is so important to let somebody know what your testimony is. If you have an addiction, he can save you from that. He saved me from my addiction, my sex addiction. I told you that in the beginning of my first podcast. I'm not embarrassed. I'm not ashamed. I celebrate that I'm no longer there. I celebrate that I can fight it every single day with him. I celebrate that I no longer have to sell my body. I celebrate that I no longer have to be with a married man to pay my bills or to get what I need, because God told me, when I take you out of this life, I will put you in a new realm. I will put you in a new life that you no longer have to do that. You won't have to worry about how your bills getting paid. Trust me, my child, I got you. Some trust in chariots and horses. But for me and my family, we're going to trust in the Lord. His word is so true. Nothing that I study, nothing that is about his word has directed me in the wrong direction. But when I focus on how Tiffany is and I focus on what Tiffany has done, that was the wrong direction. I didn't realize it until one day I had to truly look in the mirror and say, do you want this life? Or do you want the life that God has for you? I never looked back after that moment. I asked God to save me from myself. I asked God to save me from my adulterous behavior and ruining other homes. And he did just that. But he said, my child, I got work for you to do in this process. So when I save you, there's work for you to do. You can't go back. Even if you think you can, you can't go back. Because if you go back to that life and you don't submit and surrender to me every day when you wake up, there will be hell to pay. So I'm here to tell you that I'm not going back. I know that, because I'm not letting go of God. I'm holding on to his unchanging hand. And I know that when I trust him, I know for a fact that when I trust him and his power, I know that my prayer will have enough authority and that he will move on my behalf. I know that because I've spent time with the master. I spent time in the word. I know that what I'm saying, I'm going to walk. I'm not going to teeter-totter and go back before, because I know what that teeter-tottering does. I know what it means to go back and forth. I did that. That didn't work. So what I'm telling you, although you may be a backslider today, although you may be a sinner today, although when you look in the mirror today, you are not who you want to be, you can change, but you got to do it with God. He will set you up where you won't have to worry about not one need. Surrender and submit to him. Don't submit to a church. Don't submit to a pastor. Don't submit to a prayer warrior. Don't submit to a congregation. Submit to God. Change your life. Become dedicated to him and what he has for you. Get in the mode of prayer every single day. You don't have to worry about praying like the great prayer warrior. That's not maybe what your calling is. But what you do is you pray to him the way you know how, and he will teach you as you continue to pray. Everyone always asks me, how is it that you know how to pray? How is it that your prayer is powerful? When I'm praying, I don't know that. Because when I submit and surrender to God, and when I ask God to take over me, I'm no longer Tiffany. I become one with him, that it may be all of him that you hear and see, so that you know to surrender and submit to God and not to Tiffany and not to anybody else, not to the pastor, not to the congregation, not to the evangelist on TV, not to the social media platforms that are going back and forth, but that you truly know when you're connected to someone that's godlike, to someone that's real about this word, and that will show you if he did it for me, he can do it for you. How do I know? I have an experience. How did I learn how to pray? I spent time with the master. I suggest that you spend time with the master. He will not let you down. His grace is sufficient for you. I know that. No weapon formed against you shall prosper because he's given you the armor. Put it on. Start today. When you look in the mirror, start today. Change your life today. Surrender to him. It's too big for you. You can't handle it anyway. So you might as well give it over to him. I'm going to pray. I'm not going to worry. I'm going to praise. I'm going to worship. And when I can't worship, I'm going to praise even harder. And when I can't praise, I'm going to worship even harder. And when those two don't do it for me, what I know will is when I spend time with the master communicating on my knees. Because what I know is he knows my voice. Allow him to know your voice. Allow him to know that as soon as you speak, he will hear you. Thank you, my Father, for today. Thank you for the blessings and the grace. Thank you for allowing me to know that when I trust in you and your power, my prayer has enough authority that you will move on my behalf. I already know you're moving. I don't have to worry about sickness because you told me you would heal me. I don't have to worry because you told me to pray. You told me to trust in you. As I said, some trust in chariots and horses, but I know I trust in my Father. I thank you for today. I thank you for a fresh dose of grace. I thank you for a fresh dose of mercy. I thank you for a fresh dose of favor. I thank you for another opportunity and chance. I ask that you take over the listeners. I ask that you allow them to know to submit and surrender to you. I ask that you have your way in their life. Take over where they think they can handle it. Let them know that it's too big. Their hands are too small and they can't handle it. Have the listeners have your way, God. Allow them to stand available to you. Protect them and keep them from hurt, harm, and danger. I trust who you are. I trust what your word is. But most of all, I trust what your power is. In Jesus' name, you be blessed. There's someone out there whose destiny is tied to my obedience to the call of God. Pain made me pray, and prayer made me powerful. When God saved me from myself, I decided that I would take this journey, but I don't want to take it alone. Please like, subscribe, comment, but most of all, share to Tiffany Davis Speaks podcast, where my voice is attached to your ears. Be blessed.